I guess by now, not many will be fooled into thinking that this was the Sahara Desert, though to be true, it's not that far away. This short documentary is based at Maspalomas, an area of Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands group. I'm having a 10-day break here at the Riu Palace Hotel. And what a joy are these cool marble reception areas for the sometimes fierce heat outside. Certainly the overhead lighting is quite unique and deserves a prize for design in itself. Although built originally in 1968, this grand old lady was given a multi-million-pound makeover in 2019, but retained the airy opulence these wide open and airy spaces allow. It's the only hotel that has direct access onto the Dunes National Park. Let's have a look at what the redesigned accommodation looks like. After all, it will be my home for the next 10 days. A nice touch, 2 comfortable chairs provided by the twin modern lifts, which serve this side of the 417 rooms. Another nice touch that greets you is the space between the corridors on these 4 floors have been planted with palms, offering not only a pleasant outlook but a feeling of coolness in a space which is not air conditioned. Let's have a look at my accommodation. Remember that wonderful sunrise at the beginning? Well, that was taken right bang centre of this very spacious and private terrace. When booking, I asked for a dunes view on a higher floor, and I think I did rather well really, as to the front and right were the dunes themselves, and a very pleasant view over some apartments opposite. And then to the left was the town of Playa del Ingles and the mountains beyond. The interior design is supposed to mirror that of the 60s and fits the ethos of this grand old hotel rather well, but at the same time it provides the guests with all mod cons: minibar, tea and coffee maker, a large flat screen TV, and unusually plenty of power and computer outlets to connect us to the 21st century. A large and well-equipped bathroom with his and hers sinks, a very large walk-in rainforest shower, WC, backlit mirrors, plenty of towels and robes, and quality shampoos and creams, etc. More than adequate wardrobe space, and a safe should you need it. The following stills show the 2 main pools and were taken early in the morning to show them at their best. They were superb at just the right temperature and never became crowded or noisy, so a walk through the manicured gardens and bright flower displays. How they managed to conjure up such blooms in this soil and heat is remarkable. But the inner man is calling now for some lunch as I arrive at the Oasis, one of the 2 a la carte restaurants. This one's also serving lunch. Over a lifetime, I've been lucky enough to enjoy eating out in some pretty spectacular locations around the world, and this one is certainly no exception and scores top marks for its position overlooking the Maspalomas dunes. As you enter to take your table, and I'm here in August, it's a tad too hot to sit even under the umbrellas outside. The inside view is still quite spectacular. And what better to start with today than a superb gazpacho, the Spanish cold soup, with all the trimmings, just right, and watched over by a beady eye. And then in contrast, a sizzlingly hot dish of garlic prawns to complete the meal. Today we're off for a trip to Puerto de Mogan, Usually I go by road through the tunnels and superb motorways, but for a first and a complete change, we're making the trip by boat from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a long-established port which has exploded over the last 50 years into a very large and lively resort town.
They all want me, they can't have me, so they all come and dance beside me.
And now with the sounds of La Macarena thumping out over the tannoy speakers, we're off on the 30-minute voyage along the coast. I have to say that over the last 50 years, some pretty awful developments have been started along this stretch of the coast, and not all of them reaching completion. One wonders what will become of these unfinished edifices.
Now, come on.
But soon our destination comes into view, and at first glance, and after a gap of some 10 years or so, things are looking much the same as they were. The town beach is looking surprisingly empty, even though it's well into the morning in high season. And we get our first taste of the Spanish colonial type architecture. It even looks like the Yellow Submarine is still here, delighting generations with its undersea adventures. And as we pull into the harbour, it might be worth mentioning that although Puerto de Mogan looks and feels like it's been here for a couple of centuries, this is far from the truth. It is in fact the vision of one man, Raphael Neville, an architect of some stature from past designs in Andalusia and Sardinia, friend of Charlie Chaplin and Picasso no less. And together with a friend, they visited a small fishing village with arable farming and without a harbour, at the invitation of the government, to revive this almost lost and forgotten town on the extreme southwestern corner of Gran Canaria, and then to turn it into a thriving port for tourism, improving amenities and creating jobs for this impoverished end of the island. So it was not until with little in the way of funds that work began only in 1983. Few people would ever believe that this wonderful port, so beloved by thousands from all over the world, is in fact a modern concept, and that it's not been here evolving over a couple of centuries. So let's now see the brilliant concept of Puerto de Mogan as it is today, and has not changed in its 60 years of existence as the Venice of the Canaries. Since its creation, there isn't a shop anywhere in the Canary Island chain selling postcards, calendars or t-shirts that doesn't feature this wonderful town. Such is its popularity today. And quite rightly, the point at which we start our journey is named after its creator, the Piazza Raphael Neville. Such a wonderful harbour and marina, I think you'll agree. Yet the water is so clear, even tropical fish can be seen here. And don't miss the octopus. Yes, an octopus. We spent many a happy holiday here in the flat over the gift shop. Another feature was the roof garden, where you could sunbathe in this lovely corner of the marina. And here's some of the architecture that reminds us of where Mogan gets its reputation as the Venice of the Canary Islands. Well, that's more the residential side of Mogan, with its beautiful flora and shaded alleyways. And here in contrast, a tiny section of the beach as it was before development, but now it's given way to all the modern tourist attractions for everybody of all ages to enjoy. And out goes the yellow submarine once again, diving down to excite even more generations to the wreck just outside the harbour.
In the summertime when the weather is high.
And yes, the town beach does get crowded, even at Christmas. Dive schools are now well established here for those who want to enjoy the nearby deep water.
See what you can find. If a daddy's rich, take
But for most, the beach, brought here incidentally from the Sahara Desert, has entertained several generations of holidaymakers with its warm and tranquil waters.
down, you can make it good and live by. When I grab people, when I dirty, when I mean, we love everybody, but we do as we please. When the weather
But here we go again. It's hot, and what can be more refreshing than a long cool G&T and watching the world go by?
philosophy.
Even perhaps a snack of gambas to add to the occasion. And now we're back by the town bridge and we've done the full circle. But although it's only been a brief visit here today, I hope it may have given you a taste of the wonderful vision its creator had hardly more than 60 years ago, and a pity indeed that with his passing in 1996, he cannot see just how it's matured into the present day, and is certainly a jewel in the crown of the Canary Islands. And after that great day out in Mogan, it's back to base and a refreshing shower, a change of clothes, and down to that special time of day, onto the Bellini Terrace just as the sun sets for a pre-dinner cocktail. And tonight it's a Long Island iced tea,
That was quick.
as I'm booked into the Crystal restaurant, the second of the two a la carte restaurants on site. Both restaurants for dinner come complimentary, though they have to be booked via an app on your phone and only after you arrive, on a first come first served basis. The Crystal is elegant and serves fusion French cuisine to a very high standard, and the service here is impeccable. And in the tradition of the grand old hotels, gentlemen are not admitted unless they're wearing long trousers, though a jacket is at your discretion. I noticed the eagle-eyed maitre d' kept an eye open and wouldn't admit any of the gents unless suitably attired. But this said, and all's well for the feast ahead. Even the amuse-bouche was almost a course in itself. A complimentary glass of pink cava is offered, which was so good I ordered more to accompany the meal. Ready?
Yes.
Steady, go.
Okay.
Oof. Thank you. And although the menu didn't change nightly, there was a good option for each course. The desserts were always a delight, a fusion flavours to end the evening on a high. And that's not to say that the buffet was in any way an inferior option, starting with help yourself lobster risotto, but I could have chosen from seemingly endless miles of goodies, all beautifully fresh and presented. Sometimes it's hard to choose. Even a wide choice of local and national cheeses, fruit salads and yogurts, cookies and cakes, endless. And tonight a mint chocolate fountain to spoon over the fresh strawberries and cherries. What's not to like? Well, I really don't know where the time here has gone to, but somehow I'm already on my last day and determined to go out in style. And that means the last superb Bombay Sapphire G&T as we await another of those special moments here on the dunes of Maspalomas. We've seen the splendid sunrise, and now it's the turn for the nightly display of sunset. And it's been an easy watch from the grounds up here overlooking the panorama, while the Oasis restaurant readies itself for the evening a la carte. And sitting here comfortably, G&T in hand, is really something special. But it's somehow divorced from the real feel of the thing and the spectacle of the main event. So for my last evening, I've decided to go down and enjoy the fun at ground level and get the real feel of this unique spectacle. The dunes have only been protected as a nature reserve since 1987 and are over 4 million square metres of natural sand, a product of the last ice age. And each day the dunes are sculptured by occasional winds and take up new shapes and sizes. And it wasn't until the 1960s that the Spanish government saw the potential for tourism and decided to develop the surrounding region. And now finally on this last evening, down here at ground level, I come across not only a convenient mini market, but also a superb ice cream parlour. Ah well, perhaps next time. But I have to say that already joining the world and his wife down here, the panorama of the dunes takes on another dimension, and it's easy to see why it's become such a tourist attraction. The dunes, of course, are constantly moving and changing with the seasons, and already families are beginning to take up a good viewpoint. And as the shadows now lengthening, changing the scene by the minute, until that final moment of glory when the sun finally sets and a sudden chill in the air descends. And time now for a final meal at the oasis, where most of us, perhaps somewhat unwisely, opted to eat out. Amazingly, with the constant high temperatures from dawn onwards, the sudden chill of a desert environment descended, and I have to say, both the food and the air became positively chilly. But first, a local Serrano ham and tuna salad, and that did little to warm us up, but a glass of wine helped while awaiting the main course of paella. This did bring some warmth to the table, and their version of this classic dish was very good. As I walk back to the Bellini Terrace one last time, I can already hear the sounds of the Tina Turner tribute act providing the entertainment this evening. How did they know it was right up my street? The pools, empty now under the moonlight, have brought so much pleasure during my days here, relaxing and cooling off under the sun. And these underwater couches were much in demand, as you may imagine. But being an adults-only resort, it was a treat to engage in conversation, no muzak, shrieks or dive bombing, just perfect. And now for another performance, and one I first came across in Mogan some 50 years ago now. And here at the Riu Palace, the tradition continues. A modest Spanish brandy, Carlos I, is warmed over hot water. Next, it's flamed to burn off the alcohol and concentrating the flavour. For those viewing this short video, hopefully it has revealed what an exciting and beautiful part of Gran Canaria this is. And for those familiar, a reassurance that this end of Gran Canaria is as alive and kicking and as beautiful as it ever was. And finally, the rest of the measure is added. And now this perfect nightcap, so carefully and reverentially prepared, brings down the final curtain on my stay here in Gran Canaria.